Hello everyone and welcome to the online session of science. This is the part 2 session of chapter 5. In previous session we have discussed about some topics from our chapter 5 is separation of substances. So in part 1 we have discussed about solid-solid separation. In this we are going to discuss about separating solids from liquids. So first, before we'll start this, we just need to know about soluble and insoluble. So here in the slide you can see the types of separation depend on whether the solid is soluble or insoluble in the liquid. So the definition of solid you can see here: solids that dissolve in liquids to form a solution. For example, sugar in tea or coffee and salt in seawater. Here you can see one separating method also, that is evaporation. In our next slide we will discuss about the methods also. Secondly, you can see here insoluble. So solid that don't dissolve, instead they sink to the bottom of the liquid. So these are insoluble. For example, sand and soil in water. Filtration could be the method to separate that kind of solids. So now further we will discuss about the different methods. So first we will discuss about separating methods of insoluble solids from liquid. So here first we will discuss about sedimentation. So as you can see in the picture, this sedimentation, this method is used for separating insoluble substances. So as you can see, water containing insoluble impurities, and this method mostly used to separate insoluble substances that are heavier than water. What we need to do is we'll just mix, for example, we'll mix soil and water. So we'll pour some soil into the water, and what we need to do is we left that mixture undisturbed for some time. We will not touch it. After some time what you will see is, you can see the second picture here, that is in right one. The insoluble impurities, or we can say the soil, has settled down at the bottom. So this process of settling down of insoluble impurities is known as sedimentation. And here you can see above the clear water. So this process is known as sedimentation. Here you can see the definition of sedimentation. Sedimentation is defined as the separation process in which solids are separated from the liquid. All the solids settle down at the bottom of a beaker, and on top a clear layer of liquid is obtained. So as in the picture you can see, this process is happening when we left the liquid undisturbed for some time. So at the last you can see the insoluble impurities will settle down at the bottom. After sedimentation, the next process would be decantation. Here you can see the definition of decantation also. So as you can see in the picture, the pouring out of the clear water into the different container very slowly, so that the sediments will not disturb. So this process is known as decantation. So decantation is defined as the separation process in which two immiscible liquids are separated. So these are the process of sedimentation and decantation. Next we will discuss about the process of loading. So as you can see in the picture, in this process, in this loading process, here you can see a different element which is alum. So what is the function of alum here is, loading is a process which speed up the sedimentation, because when for example we'll take a muddy water. So muddy water contain very fine particles also, and this fine particles are, or we can say this fine particle will take longer time to settle down. So we'll have to wait for more time. So when alum is added, as you can see in the picture, when alum is added, which is soluble in water, what the alum will do, it can suspend the heavy particle in the water, and this alum makes the fine particle heavy. This is the important point here, important sentence here. This alum makes the fine particle heavy, which then settle down quickly. So as you can see in the picture, the definition here, loading is a process which speed up the sedimentation. How speed up? Because it provide load to the light particle, so that these particle will settle down quickly. So as the alum is providing load to the fine particle, that is the reason this process is known as loading. And in the left side you can see here, alum is a substance which is used to fast the process of loading, and when alum is dropped in the solution, the heavy particle of that solution become more heavy, and fine particle will also become heavy, so that they can settle down easily. So this process is known as loading. Next we will discuss about filtration. So filtration, we can say this method of separating insoluble component from the mixture using a filter, because we are separating the insoluble solid with the help of filter or filter paper, we can say. That is the reason the process is known as filtration. So in this method, as you can see in the picture, here the liquid and insoluble solid. So when we'll pour this liquid into different container with the help of and to use the filter paper. So filter allow the liquid to pass through. That filter paper or filter allow the liquid to pass through and retain the solid particle, and the solid particle retained by the filter are known as residue. As you can see in the picture, these particle is known as residue, and the clear liquid collected into the different container, this is called filtrate. The filter used, as I have told you, the filter used may be a filter paper, a fine cloth, a fine mesh, unglazed earthenware, or other porous material. It could be anything. So this is the process of filtration. As you can see the definition, filtration is a process by which insoluble solids can be removed from a liquid by using a filter paper. The liquid that passes through is called the filtrate, and the undissolved solid particle are called residue. So this is the process of filtration by which we can separate insoluble solid from a liquid. Next we discuss about separating methods of soluble solid from liquids. So in this we are going to discuss about evaporation. So evaporation is a method used to recover a dissolved solid component. So here we'll talk about the soluble things. For example, if we'll mix or we'll pour salt into the water, in the picture you can see here a salt water and here a evaporating dish, and Bunsen burner you can see here, because we are going to provide a temperature or a heat to the salt water. So in this process the solution is heated. This causes the liquid to evaporate and leaving behind the solid component. By this method, salt can be separated from the water. So as you can see the definition here, evaporation is a process during which water in a liquid state changes to gas or vapor. The higher the temperature, the higher the rate of evaporation. However, evaporation cannot occur if there is no water available. And evaporation commonly occurs in salt ponds. In salt pond, with the help of sunlight or the heat provided by the sun, teapots, and even in clothes dryers. So this is the process of evaporation. Next process we are going to discuss about is condensation. So it is the process in which water vapors convert back to its liquid form, or we can say it is just the opposite or reverse of evaporation. Here the definition you can see, condensation is the change of the physical state of matter from the gas phase into the liquid phase, and as I have told you, is the reverse of vaporization or evaporation. In the diagram you can see this process clearly, how the vapors are converting into a water droplets. So this is the process of condensation. These process we can see in a water cycle also. As we all know about water cycle, in water cycle what happens actually, when the sun rays falls into the water, any like river, pond, sea water, so what will happen, the water will start heated up, and when the sun providing heat to the water, water gets evaporate. So here you can see the process of evaporation, and after that in the cloud you can see there the process of, because due to the temperature is not or we can say the less, due to less temperature, these vapors will convert into water droplets, and here you can see the different process, precipitation, or we can say the rain. So as you guys are already aware about the water cycle process, in this you can see about evaporation and condensation. So this is about the part 2 session. In this session we have discussed about separation of solid from liquids. So in this we have discussed about soluble and insoluble substances, and then we have discussed about different methods of separating insoluble solid from liquid. So for insoluble there are different processes like sedimentation and decantation. So in sedimentation what we have discussed is when the insoluble substance will settle down, or we can say the settling this process of settling down of heavier insoluble component is known as sedimentation. And when we are pouring the clean water into different container slowly, this process is known as decantation. After that we have discussed about loading. So in loading we have discussed about the substance alum. Alum provide load to the light particle or to the fine particle so that they can settle down quickly. So this is loading. Then filtration we have discussed about, with the help of filter paper or filter or any fine cloth this process will happen. In this the solid impurities or insoluble particle will remain in the filter paper. This is called residue, and the clean water is known as filtrate. Then evaporation we have discussed. In evaporation is the process when water or liquid is converting into vapors, and the just opposite process when vapors are converting into a liquid, this is condensation. So that's all for the day. I hope you all have understood about it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.